Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled End Times 381, an intro to Transformation, Part 1. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahushua Messiah. The podcast objectives are analyze the spiritual process of transformation, analyze how we renew our minds, and reveal how we obtain the mind of Yahushua Messiah. This lesson contains timelines and other visuals. Therefore, if you are listening to the podcast, I advise you to watch the video version on our website or YouTube, or request a PDF of the lesson so you can add the visual effect. How you are being transformed. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to Day 159 of our exposition of lawlessness. In the most recent podcast, we concluded a two-part series revealing how conformance eliminates the spiritual virus of nonconformance from your thought dimension. From now, we must analyze the critical degree of obedience. And if you would receive it, this degree is in fact the critical degree of holiness. Enter transformation. By definition, transformation is the complete change of form, structure, or substance, the conversion of an entity as to change the use or purpose, the transfer of genetic material from one cell to another, resulting in a genetic change in the recipient cell. Now, per its definition, transformation is designed to transfer the spiritual substance of the elastic suit of compliance into your being as you walk in conformance to the Father's will. As the spiritual substance of the elastic suit enters your soul, it eradicates every form of darkness from your being. This allows you to cast off the works of darkness, for you are being transformed into the image and likeness of Yahushua Messiah. Vis-a-vis, you are being transformed into the light, for he is the light of the world. And as it is physically and spiritually impossible for light and darkness to occupy the same allotment of space, the great work of transformation is to eliminate every form of darkness from your being and to give you the light of life. Romans 13:11-12 is revealing, and do this, knowing the time, that it is already the hour for us to wake up from sleep. For now our deliverance is nearer than when we did believe. The night is far advanced. The day has come near. So let us put off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. John 8:12 is revealing. Therefore, Yahushua spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall by no means walk in darkness, but possess the light of life. Now, in line with these verses, transformation is clearly the most powerful degree of holiness we have discussed thus far in this series dedicated to analyzing the 80 degrees of lawlessness, which, amongst other things, should tell you just how dangerous complacency is. Along these lines, complacency as a critical degree of disobedience is the primary deterrent to transformation. Likewise, it is the primary reason why so many within the extended nation of Israel are not conforming to the spiritual model of Yahushua Messiah. Quite the contrary, the majority are being conformed to the world. For as I have said before, if you are not being conformed to the image and likeness of Yahushua Messiah, then you are, by default, being conformed to the world. And there is no third option on this wise. Trust me, man is not a dependent spiritual agent. Ergo, whether we realize it or not, we are being transformed into the image and likeness of someone or something, vis-a-vis the object of our conformance. And thus, the question of the hour concerning transformation is simply this: to whom are you being conformed? Answer that question, my friend, and you will come to know how you are being transformed. When you humble yourself. Romans 12, 1 through 2 is revealing. I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living sacrifice, set apart, well-pleasing to Elohim, your reasonable worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect will of Elohim. Now, there are many key takeaways from this passage that tell the tale concerning transformation. First and foremost, Shaul is revealing that transformation occurs as we renew our minds. The question we should chiefly entertain then is, how do we renew our minds? The answer is sure. We renew our minds by aligning our thoughts with the Father's thoughts. Per the image to the right, you must align your reality and your perspective with the Father's reality and perspective. And the remaining faculties and actors within your thought dimension must be aligned with the principles of obedience and faith. My dear friends, this is the only way we can ensure our thoughts are aligned with the Father's thoughts. And we can only achieve this prime objective by obtaining the mind of Yahushua Messiah via transformation. Philippians 2, 5 through 8 is revealing. For let this mind be in you, which was also in Messiah Yahushua, who being in the form of Elohim, did not regard equality with Elohim a matter to be grasped, but emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, and came to be in the likeness of men. And having been found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, death even of a stake. Now, the question of the hour then is, how do we obtain the mind of Yahushua Messiah? The answer is sure. We obtain the mind of Yahushua Messiah by being obedient unto death. Now, Shaul confirms this matter in Philippians 2, revealing Yahushua Messiah humbled himself and became obedient unto death. Along these lines, the death Shaul is referring to is primarily literal, for he was impaled on a stake. In our case, death is primarily metaphorical. To wit, we are to die to the things of this world by being conformed to the Father's will. This is why we are commanded to present our bodies as a living sacrifice. Trust me, it is a sacrifice to submit your will to the Father's will in every case. Remember, the Father's will is not one dimensional. Quite the contrary, it is multi-dimensional. Ergo, when you make the decision to submit to the Father's will, you are submitting yourself to every factor of his will, a myriad of conditions that are contrary to your nature. Brothers and sisters, this is why we are first commanded to humble ourselves. Listen to me. You will fail to walk in obedient faith to the Father's will if you fail to humble yourself before a command is ever given. Now, as I said in a prior podcast, when you humble yourself, you don't give yourself the option to disobey the Father's command or to be associated with those who do. You don't give yourself the option to ask why when he reveals his will to you. Quite the contrary, when you humble yourself, you eliminate any opportunity and or possibility that you should operate outside of the command given. You appreciate your role in the kingdom, and you know that a good and faithful servant will never question his master. Here lies the inflection and the problem. To wit, the extended nation of Israel is filled with evil and unfaithful servants. And although it should be clear, allow me to tell you why. The majority of the men and women in this nation are not being transformed into the spiritual model of Yahushua Messiah. Now, I get it. This is not late breaking news. And yet, because of the hour we are living in, it does put a spiritual premium on transformation. To wit, we cannot receive the Father's will if we are not being transformed. Besides the fact that this is common sense, we know this is true because it is scripture. Vis-a-vis, Yahuwah will not put more on you than what you can bear. Ergo, if you are not experiencing the transformation required to do his will, he will not give you additional knowledge of his will. And thus, you will not only fail to grow beyond your point of nonconformance, but you will also regress and inherit a non-victorious reality decorated with a series of spiritual strongholds. Alas, it's the classic catch-22, the proverbial chicken and the egg, the dreaded do loop. To wit, these transgressors cannot receive the Father's will because they are not being transformed, and they cannot be transformed because they are unable to receive the Father's will. Catch-22. And if you or someone you know is in this downward spiral, have no fear, for the word of truth is near. Vis-a-vis, we will continue this discussion in the upcoming podcast as I show you how to harness the power of transformation to unlock the power of the Father's will. Now, here is the final word. The one sure way to never stumble is to submit to his will and forever stay humble. It should come as no surprise that humility is a key factor in obedience. The truth is, everything we have analyzed thus far in these lessons on obedience is founded upon our willingness to submit ourselves to the will of Elohim in a spirit of humility. And this should not be too hard to do if we, again, appreciate our roles in the kingdom of heaven and the fact that we are servants and thus We must possess the mind of a servant if we are to have any success on this quest. Always remember that. And remember this, as it pertains to the seal of Elohim, obedience is only the first test. So be like Yahushua Messiah and take on the mind of a servant and be obedient unto death. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on all the lessons you have heard this week and ask the Father to give you clarity on anything you are struggling to receive. And if you are led, please feel free to reach out to me. You can fill out a form on our website and let us know what questions you have. And remember, the only question that can truly hurt you is the one you fail to ask. Last but not least, enjoy the upcoming Shabbat and the weekend, and be ready to get back at it next week as we continue to make our calling and election sure in pursuit of the precious and priceless seal of Elohim. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, End Times 381, an intro to transformation, part 1. And the next podcast is entitled End Times 382, an intro to transformation, part 2. I will post this podcast on Monday, December 9th, 2024. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. Continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.